Rap Sucks Radio.
All right, so this right here is not nerd news, so I'm not gonna put the echo or reverb on it, but I am gonna shout it out.
Okay.
Old news. This story is a month old.
People love old news, man. You should put the echo on it.
I should. I'm gonna put.
It's like it got lost in a cave and we're pulling it out.
Old news. Old news. Let's see if I can find like a hall or cave echo and add it on there. Oh man. Danny Trejo, man.
Machete.
Ah man, can you imagine how ill this had to be on his behalf? He actually is a real life hero at this point. He saved a young special needs child who was trapped in an overturned car in Sylmar. Now, I would like to note that he's already a hero for withstanding the heat in August in Sylmar to begin with. That is something that, not many human beings can do. Well, quite a few, but not comfortably.
Let me jump in real quick.
Yeah.
That said, and I didn't watch the entire video that accompanied this article, but he did the news video and he had no shirt on.
Because it's Sylmar. And I was going to note that
it's Sylmar.
Who?
The crazy thing is, and just so we have this straight, because I do, I believe in full transparency when it comes to Rap Sucks Radio and our small but loyal listenership.
Fair.
Last week, and I'm not far from Sylmar, last week, it was so hot in this room where I'm recording. I was not wearing a shirt for this.
This is
Don't get excited. It's nothing to see here. Trust me. But it's hot. It's hot. But he was wearing no shirt on TV.
At about 45 minutes into episode 25, all listeners were gone. Oh boy.
Man.
So I could make the story longer than necessary, but at the end of the day, Danny Trejo and a couple of Good Samaritans saw a car turned over. I believe the grandmother was driving the car. She was able to get out, but the young man was still trapped in his car seat in the back, and the car was turned over. And of course, it's a dangerous situation. You never know what can happen, blah, blah, blah. So Machete and his friends, and a couple of other Good Samaritans, got the child out of the car. But what he did, what I thought was fresh, was this quote. He said he already works with like special needs children, so he kind of knew what to do, right? But he said, and I quote, "He was panicked. I said, okay, we have to use our superpowers." So he screamed, "Superpowers," and we started yelling superpowers, Trejo said. I said, "Do this with the muscles." And he said, "Muscles." And they basically worked their way through it and helped the young man get out of a very dangerous situation. And I was excited reading that. I was like, that is dope. That is really freaking dope.
It's dope, right?
Yeah.
I tell you what, man. You talk about, man, I fancy myself not the most emotional person in the world, but between watching that Osaka Coco match and the end of that and reading the story, I had to restock on the tissues, man. I'm crying.
Yeah, this was a pretty sad. Well, I mean, you cried a month ago for this one because it's old news, but yeah. You did.
Every time I read it, man. Every time I read it, shed a tear, bro. Shed a tear, man. The crazy thing is that, and I don't know, I'm not sure why I did this because obviously we know who Danny Trejo is, but I went to his IMDb page. Hey, what I never knew until today is that his IMDb bio begins with the most gangsterous phrase
All right.
of anybody on IMDb. It says, just hear what I'm saying here. Danny Trejo was born Dan Trejo.
Okay. Switch it up.
Listen, man. He's like the Benjamin Button of Mexican American cinematic legends.
Oh my god, yo! Hey, have you ever like gotten out and helped somebody that's been in an accident before?
Yeah. Well, help is a strong word. Not like him.
You know,
I didn't have to take my shirt off.
you know what's really funny? Not funny per se.
What?
Not around this time. I think a month before. I was driving in Glendale and a dude ran a light and flipped a car over, and I was one of the closest people. And the car was turned over, and we actually climbed in through the back and helped her get out of the car. And it turned out to be like a pregnant woman. It was like the worst case scenario ever moment. Like, oh my God. And that turned out okay. But yeah, I can actually for real sympathize with what he did in a way, because I've actually done that before. I've gotten out of my car and helped somebody out of a car that has been flipped over. I can say I've done that in my life.
You're a good dude, man.
I'm a scared dude. And when the police rolled up, I like waited to give a report. Sorry, y'all, stop snitching. I know, but the police officer kind of did a double take, and he got off his motorcycle and kind of checked the situation and came back over to me and asked me what I saw. And he said, "All right, well, can I take your information down to get in contact with you later if I have any further questions?" And I was like, "Actually, Mr. Officer, no. Nope. Not at all. We're not doing that, buddy."
Anonymous Good Samaritan.
Exactly. Sorry, man. And he looked at me like, "Wow, no." And I'm like, "No, that's all right. I think I've given you enough information, and there are several other people who, are giving their side of the story. I think that we're good here."
Was this in the social media era?
This was, like I said, this was this summer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This was like
So did
June or whatever.
she name the baby the anonymous dreadlock savior to ever do it?
To answer your question, I'm going to shout out the listeners for listening because we're closing out. I'm going to hold thought on your question and say you are listening to Rap Sucks Radio with your fam Track Life and your homeboy Kev Sakota.
That's me.
And to answer your question about what she named the child and whether the child was named after the anonymous dreadlock figure, I know that if the child was named anything like mine, H&M probably stole the name. Thank you guys for listening, y'all. You were rocking with Rap Sucks Radio. We would like to catch y'all. We hope to catch y'all next week, man. We hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please catch us on RSR Podcast. We post all the articles to everything that we talk about so that you can fact check us and, and find out more information on anything that we talk about, because we ain't scared of y'all ever, and we won't be.
I am.
I'm not at all. Especially my Spit Kicker fam. I gotta shout them out like every week. Y'all this week was less shade than normal from them, but I know they'll actually it wasn't. It wasn't. In the Spit Kicker forums, they had a which EPMD member is Trek, and all of them picked Paris Smith. All of them. All of them.
But is that the diss?
That's it's clearly a diss.
Can I ask you something real quick?
Sure.
Because I didn't bring it up whenever we talked about that, but did Eric fall out of a window at some point?
I don't know.
And I know there was another prominent hip hop figure that did, and he passed away. So I'm not trying to poke fun, but didn't some weird shit happen with him that like?
That's a question for the listeners.
Reason why
it's like I don't remember. I don't know anything about Eric Sermon past the Just Like Music sample.
This will have no E double.
Yeah. But
Parrish and Redman.
That's a good question for the listeners. If you made it this far into the show, did something strange happen with Eric Sermon that y'all can remember? Because I don't remember it at all. So there's that.
There you go.
So yeah, thank y'all for listening, man. We'll catch y'all next week. RapSucksRadio.com, RSR Podcast, and Facebook. We'll holler at y'all on the count of 3. We say peace. 1, 2, 3. Peace.
Peace.
Old news.